I've been in Tacoma since 1963. I'm involved in the community, and I'm heavily involved with making sure this center stays a beautiful center and the artwork is displayed the way we would like to see it displayed.
I was born in this community, in this state, in this city. In fact, a couple of blocks away from the People's Center, and my parents have been very active in the community. And since I was born and raised there and attended school all the way from K-12, I've been in the community a long time. I've grown up learning how to give back to the community once you've left, gone away, and come back.
Well, when the community center first started, I was working for the city of Tacoma, the Model Cities program, and the center, which is now called People's Center, used to be the Malcolm X Center. And it was a center there for the kids to have activities, but very few activities. On Friday evenings, I would host a dance for the students in the community. I was there when we dug the first dirt for People's Center. That was the landmark for the beginning of the People's Center. And the community rallied around changing the name from Malcolm X to it became the People's Center. And we had a board. We wanted to make sure that the community board was there that made sure that the needs of this new facility was going to be something that remained in the community for a long time to come. So that was my beginning involvement with the People's Center, and I'm proud of where it's at right now, and we want to make sure it stays and remain a community facility.
My parents were involved in the initial struggle to get activities for us as young kids growing up in the community. My brothers played ball at the People's Center after I left and came back and realized that this is a grassroots place. This is where my folks started out at. Maybe I should be involved in doing something to help that. So I became involved with volunteering, and then all of a sudden they closed the swimming pool down, and a group of people had gotten active in saying, no, we want that back in the community. And I thought, this is a good time to fight. So I got involved, and it's been 10 years. We worked on trying to get some things for the center. We did manage through a long, hard-fought battle to get the swimming pool, the funding for it, and we got that done and opened up in 2016. And as a result of that, Harriet and I became really concerned, and we met up with a group from the city that decided we wanted some artwork there. We wanted to tell about the history of the center, and how could we best do that?
The City of Tacoma, in its artist roster, only had one artist of color, and that created problems for this place, right? Because how can we tell the story of Hilltop without connecting, that rich cultural diversity and heritage of the neighborhood to the project? Due to the advocacy of the steering committee at People's Community Center, who was absolutely passionate about making sure that neighborhood connections, that cultural diversity and equity was represented in not just the visuals of the mural, but how it was taking place. We decided to turn this mural, which would have been a singular commission for one artist, into an entire training program that would pay and support artists to develop the skills to translate their work onto the mural scale. Well, that was super exciting, because taking artists who just draw with pencils and and who paint on canvases, and I'm drilling them about painting 8 by 4 foot pieces in 20 minutes, and we took everybody outside of their comfort zone to really collaborate deeply. But what you saw, even within a few days, was the tremendous amount of skill and creativity and discipline that existed amongst these artists right here in the neighborhood. The People's Community Center became super interesting to me in coming to understand more about the significance of that place in terms of how, the African American community leaders really fought for a place for young people to gather and come together and have resources. Kind of unfortunate that in order to get more resources that they had to shed some of its history as a Malcolm X Center. And what's really cool to me to see today is a revisiting of that history, a revisiting of knowing the power of the civil rights movement and the fight for Black power and how all of these issues connect to the history of a community that has been displaced over and over again. That this community center can be both a historical and cultural anchor to people's sense of home.
I want you to meet Mr. Joyce. He painted the original Malcolm X Center that was here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The power of that history and this different intergenerational effort to connect young people to their culture. That shows up in the mural through different images of old Black-owned businesses that started in the neighborhood, through different representations of different points in the history, real struggles that people had. There were all these sensationalized stories about Hilltop from outsiders. But when you contrast that up against, the everyday photos that people took on Polaroid camera and just the play and the joy that neighbors had to celebrate and come together, you start to see a fuller picture of the history. You start to see a perspective that shows what insiders of the community have really valued and cherished over time. And it was actually pretty fun to be able to just take people's, family photographs and collage those into this design. And you see this kind of interweaving of personal histories.
My grandparents came to Tacoma in the 40s, lived in Shawashan for a while, and were one of the first Black families to move to the Hilltop.
I think people have been really excited, especially, we were able to surprise a lot of people with images in the mural. And one of the standouts for me is the portrait of Miss LaVersa Sullivan, who started the Intel Computer Clubhouse in the neighborhood. Her legacy is so huge and so deep in terms of how she has empowered folks. Her portrait in that mural, just seeing her face gleaming, her joy, I know that has, been a huge inspiration for so many people. And in the dedication, some people who knew her and had no idea that she was going to be represented there, they were really blown away. There's a lot of people too in the mural who are not people who have really big names, but they're just kind of more the everyday heroes from the neighborhood. Those people are represented there as well. We wanted to put the moms and cousins, the basketball players, and just the everyday kids who are having a good time. So I know there's folks in there who had no idea and maybe wouldn't have expected, to have a mural dedicated to them. But we understand that it takes a village, it takes a village to create a community. For me, it just really was so important to figure out how can we get these resources to come full circle. Another part of that was figuring out what the experience would be for the folks who are coming into the community center. How do we make sure that the folks who are coming in here, many of which are newcomers to the neighborhood, understand the deep heritage that is a part of this space. So we did a call to artists, prioritizing looking for artists of color, and artists who had a particular connection to the neighborhood. What was really exciting is just the incredible contributions from artists that tell so many different interwoven stories throughout the space. I think it's probably the best art show around town, and definitely my favorite part of the city's art collection is the collection of paintings and photographs and sculptures that exist on the walls inside the People's Community Center.
I think we did a very good job as the beginning of launching this, and I think it says a lot that each community has a history, each community has a story to tell, and I think art is a part of telling that story.